It was always very important to me, and it's always been something that I've had a real push-pull relationship all my life, is the idea of being trapped.
David Bowie and Queen created Under Pressure in 1981. It became a massive hit. But behind the scenes, total chaos. Bowie challenged Queen's bassist directly. "Don't play it like that." The final mix caused so much drama that Brian May completely walked away. The tension was so bad that despite both performing at Live Aid in 1985, they never played together. Bowie waited 14 years to perform the song live. The real reason remained hidden until now. David Robert Jones was born on January 8, 1947, in Brixton, London. It was freezing cold that winter. Pipes froze across the city. His family lived in a small 2-room apartment. His father worked for a charity. His mother was a waitress. It was a tough time. Britain was still recovering from the war. But there was something special about this boy. Neighbors said his eyes looked like they saw more than others. Oddly enough, he shared his birthday with Elvis Presley, born exactly 12 years earlier. That little detail would matter more than anyone knew. When David was 6, the family moved to Bromley. It was a calmer place, full of tidy homes and middle-class values. He got his own bedroom for the first time. At school, he was creative, but easily distracted. One of his teachers, Owen Frampton, said he had a wild imagination. David spent weekends at Medhurst's store listening to American rock records. By age 14, he had over 200 singles, rare and imported ones. He formed his first band, the Conrads, in 1962. They played small shows for just £5. That same year, something happened that changed his face forever. He got into a fight over a girl. His friend, George Underwood, punched him in the eye. The damage was serious. He was in the hospital for months. Surgeries followed. The result was a permanently dilated pupil. People thought he had different colored eyes. He didn't, but the look was unforgettable. That injury actually made his side vision stronger in that eye. A strange gift. Even stranger, Bowie said he had hallucinations during his recovery. Later, he said those hallucinations helped him see the world in a new way. Around that time, his mother bought him a white plastic saxophone for 19 guineas. He started taking lessons from Ronnie Ross. In 1959, he heard Little Richard's Tutti Frutti for the first time. He played it 17 times in one sitting. He called it a spiritual moment. His room turned into a mini shrine to American rock and roll. Schoolwork took a back seat. He filled his notebooks with lyrics and chords. His older half-brother Terry had a huge impact on him. Terry had schizophrenia, but he opened David's world. He took him to smoky jazz clubs in Soho. He gave him books by Jack Kerouac and Buddhist writers. David read On the Road 7 times and scribbled notes all over it. He got obsessed with a mime artist named Lindsay Kemp and even took private lessons with him. To pay for them, he worked weekends at a butcher shop. By 1963, he was experimenting with makeup and costumes in his bedroom, recording his own songs on borrowed tape equipment. After school, he started chasing music full-time. He played with bands like the King Bees, the Manish Boys, and the Lower Third. His first single, Liza Jane, went nowhere. Same with the next few. He even wrote to a businessman, begging him to turn them into the next Beatles. No luck, but he didn't give up. In 1965, he made a decision that changed everything. He stopped using the name Davy Jones. Another singer from the Monkees had made that name confusing. So he picked Bowie, after the American knife. It sounded sharp, different, unforgettable. It also signaled something deeper. He was ready to become someone new. Even with the name change, hits didn't come easily. He kept writing, recording, and performing. Still, nothing clicked. But now, he was David Bowie. And that mattered. In 1967, frustrated and searching, he nearly gave it all up to become a Buddhist monk. He went to Scotland and lived at Sammy Ling Monastery. He took it seriously, studied hard, took exams. A month longer, and he might have shaved his head, but he pulled back. Something inside him said music was still his path. Oddly, Leonard Cohen was studying at the same place that year. They crossed paths, not knowing what was ahead. That same year, Bowie dove deep into theater. He formed a mime group called Feathers with his girlfriend Hermione. They performed around London, trying new things. He studied movement with Lindsay Kemp, the mime artist he had once seen in Bromley. He learned how to use his body like an instrument. These skills would later shape his stage characters. Even when the group didn't take off, Bowie soaked it all in. Then came the song that changed everything. On July 11, 1969, just 5 days before Apollo 11 took off, Bowie released Space Oddity. It told the story of Major Tom, an astronaut lost in space. His regular producer didn't like the idea, so another producer, Gus Dudgeon, took it on. The whole thing was made for less than £500. At first, the BBC hesitated to play it. It seemed too dark for a moon mission, but once the astronauts returned safely, they played it often. By November, Space Oddity reached number 5 on the UK charts. Bowie was finally a star. He performed on Top of the Pops. His image, mixed with NASA footage, stunned viewers. Yet his album, released later that year, sold only 5,000 copies. Still, Space Oddity gave him his first real taste of success. After 6 years of trying, he had finally broken through. David Bowie married Angela Barnett on March 20th, 1970. The ceremony lasted just 8 minutes. Angela later claimed the marriage was mainly for work permits. Their relationship was anything but ordinary. Both spoke openly about being bisexual and having affairs. A year later, on May 30th, 1971, their son Duncan Zoe Haywood Jones was born. Bowie was recording Hunky Dory at the time. British newspapers mocked the name Zoe, calling it the 70s version of naming a kid Apple. Their marriage didn't last. They divorced in 1980. Duncan later said he barely spoke to his mother for nearly 30 years after that. Angela received a $750,000 settlement, but with one strange condition: she could never perform Bowie's songs publicly. During this time, Bowie was using cocaine heavily. Some days, he reportedly used 10 grams. He became paranoid, storing his own urine in the fridge because he believed witches could use it against him. Then came Ziggy Stardust. In 1972, Bowie introduced his alien rock star character, Ziggy. He wore a red mullet and platform boots. It was bold, strange, and unforgettable. He first appeared as Ziggy in a small pub with only 60 people in the crowd. The idea wasn't random. Bowie had studied Andy Warhol's scene and Japanese kabuki theater. His transformation was so intense that he later said Ziggy started writing his own script. Bowie's health suffered. He weighed only 95 pounds, surviving on milk and peppers while on tour. His body nearly gave out several times. In late 1972, Bowie offered his song Drive-In Saturday to Mott the Hoople. They said no. In a rage, Bowie shaved off his eyebrows. He had been awake for 72 hours. He later said he had no memory of doing it. Photographer Mick Rock took photos of him without eyebrows, adding to his alien image. Oddly, fans started copying the look. Mott the Hoople did accept another Bowie song, All the Young Dudes. It became their biggest hit. But Bowie's eyebrows never grew back the same. He had to pencil them in for the rest of his life. On July 3, 1973, something dramatic happened. At the end of a concert in London, Bowie suddenly told the crowd it was the last show ever. Fans screamed. Some fainted. But even his band didn't know it was coming. Guitarist Mick Ronson was so upset, he smashed a 7,000-pound guitar. The whole moment was filmed. RCA Records panicked and offered Bowie £1 million to stay as Ziggy. But he had already planned the next step. His new persona, Aladdin Sane, had already been introduced through an album released 3 months earlier. Killing off Ziggy was risky. Bowie's manager begged him not to do it. At the time, Bowie was nearly broke. He only earned 2% royalties. Meanwhile, his drug habit cost him £300 a day. Yet within 18 months, Bowie had adopted 2 new identities and moved into a new music style. In 1975, he went full soul with Young Americans. He even performed on Soul Train, one of the few white artists ever to do so. While Bowie moved forward, his old bandmates struggled. One worked as a gardener, another pawned his gear. But years later, Harvard experts found Bowie's move added £175 million to his lifetime earnings. Reinvention had worked. By 1975, Bowie abandoned Ziggy's glam look. He embraced soul and funk. Young Americans came out in March. It went gold. One song, Fame, became his first United States #1. He co-wrote it with John Lennon in just one day. That same year, he starred in his first major movie, The Man Who Fell to Earth. He played an alien lost in human vices. It wasn't just acting. Bowie said the role deeply affected him. After filming, he stayed in Hollywood, lived on cocaine, milk, and peppers, and didn't sleep for days. He hoped to see visions. But things got worse. His drug use spiraled out of control. In 1976, his paranoia became extreme. He looked sick. His weight dropped. His singing got weaker. He started making strange public comments, even praising fascism. Friends worried. He knew he had to escape. So he moved to Berlin with Iggy Pop. Ironically, Berlin was the heroin capital of the world. From 1977 to 1979, Bowie recorded 3 albums now called the Berlin Trilogy: Low, Heroes, and Lodger. He worked with Brian Eno and producer Tony Visconti. The sound was new, mixing rock, electronic, and experimental music. Heroes was the only one fully made in Berlin. The others were partly recorded in France, Switzerland, and New York. Bowie was finally getting clean. His mind cleared. His music took a new direction. Though these albums didn't sell much at the time, they became some of his most respected work. By 1980, Bowie wanted to reconnect with the public. He released Scary Monsters and Super Creeps on September 12th. It was a hit. His first UK #1 album in 6 years. In the United States, it reached number 12. The lead single, Ashes to Ashes, became his fastest-selling song. It brought back Major Tom, his character from Space Oddity, and showed him as a fallen addict. Fans saw it as Bowie confronting his own demons. The video was expensive and surreal. Bowie appeared as a clown, an astronaut, and a mental patient. RCA promoted it boldly. Often copied, never equaled. By the end of 1980, David Bowie had done what few artists ever could. He rose from Ziggy Stardust, nearly destroyed himself with cocaine, reinvented his sound in Berlin, and came back stronger than ever. It all started by accident. In July 1981, Queen was working in their Montreux studio on a song called Feel Like. But something about it just wasn't clicking. At the same time, David Bowie happened to be recording vocals for the movie Cat People in the very same studio. They weren't supposed to team up. In fact, Bowie first got involved with Queen by recording backup vocals on their song Cool Cat, but he didn't like how it turned out and asked them to remove it. One night, things took a strange turn. Everyone was drinking, joking around, and jamming to old songs. Roger Taylor said they were just messing around when Bowie suddenly said, "Why don't we write something of our own?" That spark lit the fire. No planning, no schedule, just raw energy and music. The whole collaboration really began with one simple phone call. David Richards, the studio engineer, knew Bowie was in town, so he called him up and asked if he wanted to drop by. Bowie said yes. No one expected anything from it. Bowie later said, "Suddenly, you're writing something together. It was totally spontaneous." That one call changed music history. But things didn't go smoothly. The moment Queen bassist John Deacon played the now famous bass line, Bowie stepped in and said, "Don't do it like that." Deacon didn't take it lightly. "Excuse me? I'm the bass player, right? This is how I do it." Even though it was tense, that riff stayed. The vocals were chaotic too. Bowie had everyone go into the booth without a plan. No lyrics, no notes. Just sing whatever came to mind. Later, they stitched together the parts that worked. It was messy, but magic was forming. The original version of the song was completely different. Brian May said it was loud and heavy, with massive chords. "It sounded like The Who," he recalled. Bowie didn't like that. When May told him it sounded like The Who, Bowie replied, "Yeah, well, it's not going to sound like The Who by the time I've finished with it." And he meant it. That version was scrapped. May even played the bass line on electric guitar at one point. But in the end, the version we all know today was based on a soft acoustic demo. The heavier version is still sitting in the studio vaults, never released. As the song neared completion, things got even more intense. The final mix became a battle. May didn't like how it turned out at all. In fact, in 2024, he said, "I never liked it, to be honest." He was frustrated that his guitar parts got lost. Freddie Mercury and David Bowie were fighting over the direction of the song, and May decided to back out. He said, "It's probably the only time in my career I bowed out." That's how fierce the control struggle was. Still, despite the drama, the song worked. It was released on October 26, 1981. Just 3 weeks later, on November 21st, it hit #1 in the UK. It was Queen's second chart topper after Bohemian Rhapsody. The song also broke records. It was only the second time two artists who had already reached #1 teamed up and did it again. The first was Frank and Nancy Sinatra in 1967. Under Pressure stayed at #1 for 2 weeks and remained on the UK charts for 11. It hit the top 10 in over 10 countries. In the United States, it didn't do quite as well, only reaching #29. But globally, it became a rock anthem. And yet, despite how iconic it became, Queen and Bowie never performed the song together at Live Aid in 1985. Both acts were there. Queen gave the most legendary set of the night, and Bowie followed with his own brilliant performance. But the duet never happened. They knew they'd both be there, but Bowie hadn't rehearsed with Queen. And reportedly, he didn't like the song. He didn't even perform it live until 1995, 14 years after it came out. Behind the scenes, the emotions were still raw. Brian May later said the recording process was difficult. "David was an awesome creative force," he said, "but you can't have too many awesome creative forces in the same room. it starts to get very difficult. Everyone had different ideas. Even bassist John Deacon had to defend his choices. When Bowie told him to play something differently, he pushed back immediately. Still, all that tension somehow worked. That pressure, ironically, helped create a song that still resonates today. When Queen performs Under Pressure with Adam Lambert now, they play a heavier version. Brian May says it finally sounds the way he imagined it in 1981. In 1983, David Bowie released Let's Dance, and everything changed. It wasn't just a hit, it exploded. The song shot straight to #1 in both the UK and the US. In the UK, it stayed at the top for 3 weeks and held a spot on the charts for 14 weeks. In the US, it ruled the Billboard Hot 100 and even dominated the Hot Dance Suonchui Disco charts. It ended up as the 4th best-selling single of the year in the UK and became one of the 300 best-selling UK singles of all time. For Bowie, who had seen his popularity dip in the late 70s, this was a stunning comeback. The decision to work with Nile Rodgers turned out to be genius. Rodgers himself later said, "The song was going to be a major hit, and we knew it." He was right. Let's Dance became the biggest-selling single of Bowie's career. Only Space Oddity, with all its reissues, came close. That wave of success didn't stop with just one song. By July 1983, Bowie had 10 albums at the same time on the UK Albums Chart, 10. That's not just rare, it's legendary. Only Dire Straits ever had more album weeks, and they reached 217 in 1986. Bowie had 198. EMI declared Let's Dance their fastest-selling record since the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper. Even RCA, his former label, jumped back in. They re-released nearly every Bowie album from 1969 to 1977, and suddenly his older work was climbing the charts again. Albums like Ziggy Stardust, Low, Hunky Dory, and Heroes were back. It was a Bowie takeover. And Let's Dance, the album? It went on to sell 10.7 million copies worldwide. But Bowie didn't just aim for commercial hits. In 1977, he took part in something completely different. He recorded a Christmas duet with Bing Crosby. The song, Peace on Earth, Little Drummer Boy, was taped for Crosby's holiday TV special in London. The mix was unusual. Crosby sang the classic, while Bowie added a brand-new counter-melody. Their chat before the song felt awkward and staged, but the duet itself became iconic. Crosby died a month later, making it one of his last recordings. When RCA finally released the song as a single in 1982, it became a huge success. It peaked at #3 in the UK and sold over 400,000 copies. What began as a quirky collaboration became one of Bowie's most beloved holiday moments. He also kept pushing boundaries in film soundtracks. In 1981, director Paul Schrader asked him to write lyrics for a Giorgio Moroder composition. The result was Cat People, Putting Out Fire, a dark, intense track for an erotic horror film. It topped the charts in countries like Norway and New Zealand. Still, Bowie wasn't fully satisfied. So in 1982, he re-recorded it for the Let's Dance album with a more aggressive sound and Stevie Ray Vaughan on guitar. Then came another twist. In 1985, Bowie worked with the Pat Metheny Group on a song called This Is Not America for the film The Falcon and the Snowman. Bowie transformed Metheny's instrumental into a haunting track that reached #14 in the UK and 32 in the US. Metheny later said Bowie sang all the vocal parts in one take, changing his voice so completely it sounded like 3 different people. Even when Bowie was at his commercial peak, he wasn't afraid to start over. In 1988, He shocked everyone by forming a band, Tin Machine. This wasn't a side project. Bowie gave up his solo identity and became just another band member. Critics had trashed his previous album, Never Let Me Down, and the over-the-top Glass Spider tour left him feeling burned out. So he hit reset. Tin Machine had a hard rock sound, minimal production, and raw energy. The first album, released in 1989, hit number 3 on the UK charts, though sales dropped quickly. What stood out was Bowie's total dedication. He even offered Tin Machine's guitarist a spot on his big solo tour. The guitarist turned him down to keep the band's message clear. The group lasted until 1992 and never had massive success, but it gave Bowie the creative recharge he needed. Then there were the rejections. Bowie turned down Coldplay. They had written a part in their song Luna, just for him. Chris Martin sent him a letter and a piano track, hoping he'd sing on it. Bowie responded bluntly, "It's not a very good song, is it?" Another version of the story has him telling Martin, "Not one of your best." That song didn't make Coldplay's album Viva la Vida, which still sold 6.8 million copies in its first year. Luna came out later as a charity single, without Bowie. The Red Hot Chili Peppers tried even harder. Between 2002 and 2006, they asked Bowie to work with them multiple times. First, they wanted him to produce By the Way. He said no. Then they sent long, heartfelt emails to convince him to help with Stadium Arcadium. Again, he turned them down, politely, every time. Even Brian Eno, Bowie's old collaborator, rejected them 8 times. Still, the Chili Peppers loved Bowie. They often covered Suffragette City live and released a version in 2014. After Bowie died in 2016, Flea got a tattoo of Bowie's name and the lightning bolt from Aladdin Sane. Despite all the rejections, there were no hard feelings. After Bowie passed, Coldplay's Will Champion recalled the Luna story and laughed. He respected Bowie's honesty. Champion said, "He wouldn't just put his name to anything. I'll give him credit for that." Both Champion and Johnny Buckland said Bowie had shaped how they understood music, fame, and artistic freedom. That respect never faded. Anthony Kiedis from the Chili Peppers shared something similar. Bowie always said no, but he did it with class. In interviews, Kiedis admitted that each time they were disappointed, but not angry. "We could do something else," he said. The band kept playing Bowie's songs, kept admiring his work, and never lost that connection. David Bowie met Iman in 1990, not long after she retired from modeling. He was instantly taken with her. He said he couldn't sleep after their first date because he was so excited. He even told people early on that he already saw her as his future wife. Iman wasn't so sure at first, but Bowie kept showing her how serious he was, once greeting her at the airport with flowers and no bodyguards. He proposed in Paris, and they married privately in Switzerland on April 24, 1992. A formal wedding followed in Florence on June 6th. It rained that day, and Iman later said she took that as a sign of good luck. Their marriage became the heart of Bowie's 1993 album Black Tie, White Noise. He worked on it with Nile Rodgers. The album wasn't just about their love, it also reflected on the 1992 Los Angeles riots and modern black music. Songs like The Wedding and The Wedding Song showed just how much Bowie's personal life was inspiring his music at the time. He even played the saxophone himself. In 2000, their daughter Alexandria was born. Iman called it the happiest moment of her life. But Bowie's past wasn't without controversy. His legacy became complicated due to disturbing claims about his relationships with underage girls in the 1970s. Dana Gillespie said she had sex with him when she was 14, and he was 17. That would have been under the legal age in the UK. Gillespie later brushed it off, saying it was all in fun. More serious were the claims from Laurie Maddox, who said Bowie took her virginity in 1973 when she was 15 and he was 25. She said his bodyguard brought her and her friend to his hotel room during his Ziggy Stardust tour. Maddox's story was messy. She gave different versions to different reporters, and some parts didn't match the timeline. Sable Starr, who was there that night, claimed she was the only one who had sex with Bowie. Some said Bowie was actually protective of underage girls. There were stories of him threatening to fire a band member for bringing teen girls to a hotel, and he refused to kiss a 16-year-old Jennifer Connelly while filming Labyrinth. Still, these allegations sparked debates about the darker side of rock stardom in that era. In 1998, Bowie did something no other rock star had tried. He launched his own internet service provider, BowieNet, for $19.95 in the US or £10 in the UK. Fans got dial-up internet access and a digital world built around Bowie. Users had Bowie-themed email addresses, message boards, chats, downloadable songs, and even personal messages from Bowie himself. It was like a mini social network before MySpace or Facebook existed. Even with slow internet speeds, BowieNet attracted about 100,000 users. It became a place where fans could share, talk, and experience Bowie's world together. This bold move showed how Bowie always stayed ahead of the curve, even when it came to technology. Recognition poured in for his music and vision. In 1996, Bowie was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. David Byrne called him a futuristic alien mortal figure who never stopped evolving. Then, in 2006, he got the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. Over the years, he earned 72 awards from 186 nominations. In 2017, a year after his death, Bowie's final album Black Star won 5 Grammys. In 2024, the documentary Moonage Daydream gave him a 6th Grammy, this time for Best Music Film. These honors confirmed that Bowie wasn't just famous. He was legendary. But the 2000s brought a major silence. In June 2004, Bowie had emergency surgery for a blocked heart artery. His tour ended abruptly. After that, he mostly disappeared from the spotlight. His last live performance came in 2006. Fans kept waiting, but Bowie stayed quiet. He even turned down an offer to perform at the 2012 London Olympics. Rumors swirled about his health, and people wondered if he'd ever return. Then, on January 8, 2013, his 66th birthday, Bowie shocked everyone. Out of nowhere, he released a new single, Where Are We Now?, and announced an upcoming album. The album, The Next Day, had been recorded in total secrecy. Every musician involved had to sign non-disclosure agreements. Bowie and his longtime producer, Tony Visconti, worked on the songs in a small Manhattan studio starting in 2010. Guitarist Jerry Leonard called it a little dungeon. Bowie used an odd marketing strategy too, mysterious stencils and posters with no mention of his name. The mystery stirred massive interest. When the album finally dropped in March 2013, it was a massive success. It became his first #1 album in the UK since 1993. Critics raved. Rolling Stone praised The Stars, Are Out Tonight, as one of his best songs ever. The comeback was called one of the greatest in music history.